going to try to get into this a little bit faster. So basically, here is the second part of my story. All things join in the cave where life and death meet. Uh, my active imagination story. So here's part two. Hope you guys enjoy. The accepted boy had grown into a man. However, none of the adults took note to buy him any clothes that would fit him better. So he was still wearing the clothes of a child, and he had made a cradle his home. An old man who had been to many distant lands began to visit him. The old man fascinated the boy. He knew so much. And the boy, eager to learn, would listen to the old man. However, the more the old man showed up, the less the beast showed up. When the beast had not shown itself for many years, the boy became very depressed. Something of life had been taken from him. It seemed that the boy was feeding the beast, but the beast was also feeding the boy's spirit somehow, and will to live. And with the beast gone now, life became very dull and began losing its colors. Finally, the boy broke down in tears and spoke to the old man and told him about the beast that no longer came. The boy was very embarrassed to admit that he had been feeding the beast all these years, but the old man smiled and said, "I know you were. It's okay. I was waiting for you to tell me about him. But I knew you had to find the courage in yourself first." The old man then said, "What will you do now?" The boy replied, "I don't want to leave you, but I must go and find the beast." The old man looked even older at that moment, sighing, and replied, "Yes, I suppose you must. Remember some of the things I told you. Some of them will make more sense later." The old man then produced a bag with some treats, then said, "Give these to the beast when you find him. They will calm him down." The boy followed the faint scent of the beast that still remained. It took him deep into the forest, where the smell became very strong. The cave was very treacherous, filled with winding paths and places one could easily become stuck inside. There were many bats and spiders and even snakes. Eventually, the boy began to hear whispers. There was a familiar grunting, along with another man's voice. "Do you think he'll find us?" the beast asked. The other man's voice said coldly, "Of course he will. I have seen it." To this the grunting voice agreed and said, "When he does, we will feed on his flesh, and you will become young again, and I will finally be rid of this never-ending hunger." To this the other man did not reply, though he began to chuckle a little, and the beast also began chuckling until the cave was filled with a roaring laughter. The boy grew very frightened and started shaking in fear and started turning back in the direction where he came from. He began to run as fast as he could, but the cave was so filled with darkness. As he ran, he stumbled and fell into a deep hole. Stuck in the hole now for what seemed like many days, the boy became delirious from hunger and thirst. He managed to get a little bit of water from the condensation that dripped from the roof of the cave, but it would not keep him from dying of thirst for much longer. His hunger grew and grew. Finally, he no longer had any choice. He would have to eat the treats meant for the beast to save himself. The disgusting flavors of the treats were overwhelming. He had a hard time keeping the treats down. Eventually, his stomach twisted and turned, and he vomited some of what he had consumed, but not all. What he did not throw up still hung in his belly, irritating it. It also gave him some strength. It was then he noticed that he was not completely alone in the hole. There were some old bones of someone else who had fallen into this hole. Perhaps some other fool had been down into this deadly cave only to perish without finding any meaning in it. The boy began to grow tired and laid next to the bones. Strangely, they gave him comfort in the darkness. He ran his hands over the bones until they reached the skull. His fingers studied the contours of the skull. He then realized its feminine structure. As this realization came to him, it was accompanied with a rushing feeling of an ancient pain. He knew a woman like this once, a woman who put him to sleep one night and never returned. It was then he knew the bones he was laying next to were the bones of his mother. She had been led here to die, and now he had been led here as well. After all these years, this was how he was to be united with his mother. The boy began to heave and sob terribly. He cried and cried until there was nothing left in him except the terrible feeling that ached deep inside. He had felt so alone all these years, left so incomplete. His whole life had been a joke. Yes, nothing but a cruel joke, he thought to himself. He then chuckled a little. Yes, it was a joke. He would die here now, and what would it all mean? Nothing. Then he thought it's okay that it all means nothing. Then his laughter began to come out like a roaring torrent. It all meant nothing. It was all a joke. Yeah, that's end of part 2. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be releasing more soon. All right, have a good one.